Don don de don don de don don de don 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 de don don de don don de don. Calling all sisters and brothers of love, calling all nations and angels above. Calling all sisters and brothers of love, calling all nations and angels above. Oh, 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 hey, hey, yeah, oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 hey, hey, yeah, oh, oh, oh. Let us rise, 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 like a phoenix from the fire, and we will fly, 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 higher and higher and higher, and we will stand, 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 in solidarity for this sacred land, and we will lead, 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 with compassion for all humanity. Oh, 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 hey, hey, yeah, oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 hey, hey, yeah, oh, oh, oh. And we will pray, 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 for love to show the blessed way. And we will hear, 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 the truth that leads us out of fear. And we will really choose to see those we perceive to be our enemy. And we will be set free with the light that shines in you and me. Oh, 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 hey, hey, yeah, oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 hey, hey, yeah, oh, oh, oh. And we will choose to heal the pain we feel, and we will rise above, 'cause we are warriors of love. Oh, 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 hey, hey, yeah, oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 hey, hey, yeah, oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 hey, hey, yeah, oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 hey, hey, yeah, oh, oh, oh.
Greetings. Welcome. Welcome to our Sunday celebration service, Inner Light Ministries. I'm the Reverend Deborah Johnson, and so happy to have you with us. Regardless of where you are, regardless of what time that you're tuning into this, know that there's only one of us here, that the presence of the divine is wherever we are. So thank you for bringing us into your homes, which is this moment is a sanctuary. You could be at work. You could even be listening in your car. Wherever you are is a sanctuary because it's holy ground. It's holy ground because you're standing there. And that's why we're here. We're here to remember the truth of our beings, that we are first and foremost spiritual beings. I'd like to say thank you to Heather Houston for that wonderful video of her original song. And good news is that Heather Houston is our musical inspiration today. So there are individuals who are on a Zoom party. They are watching this right now together, essentially like in a virtual sanctuary. And you can join them at any time. Watch this message now. And immediately after my message, Heather's going to be the musical inspiration. So you can join along with her in song. There'll be opportunities for you to be in breakout groups and to communicate with one another, to find out extraordinary things that are happening in the community that you might want to be involved in. So I invite you to take advantage of that. At Interlight Ministries, we have a vision. We have a vision of a world that is spiritually fulfilling, environmentally sustainable, and socially just. We come here to be the people that we need to be in order to fulfill that, in order to see that, in order to bring that forth in the world. We do our inner work and we do the outer transformational work. We marry the two. I think that's extremely, extremely important. Every month we have a theme, and our theme this month is alignment. Alignment. My topic today is aligning with our highest divine potential. Aligning with that highest divine potential within us. And as always, we have these affirmative activations. We always start off with those because if you join with me in them, something recalibrates within you so that you're not just listening to me, but you're listening to what I'm listening to, and we're both tuning into something that's greater than we are. We're always resonating with something. We're always vibrating with something. And these affirmations are designed to recalibrate us up to our highest frequency. They're also a roadmap. They also give us very specific things to do. A lot of us are always asking that question. Well, that's fine, Reverend Deborah, but like, what do I do? What do I do? It's in the affirmative activations. So you can always find them on our website. You can find them in our social media. And I'm inviting you now to, if you're in a position to say them out loud with me as they appear on your screen. Aligning with our divine potential. Life is not random. Everyone and everything has a reason for being. We each give our wholehearted consent to a divine purpose, continuously revealing. Purpose is beyond individual ego gratification. In every sphere and arena of life, we each make a difference. Each life makes a contribution to the whole. Aligning with the divine, our presence is beneficial. We open wide to the inherent potential within us. No longer restricted or constricted, we are open channels of creative energy. Our capacities are more than anything we can imagine. As we get out of our own way, we unleash infinite possibilities. Just breathe that in for a moment. Aligning with our divine highest potential. Regardless of wherever we are in our life, regardless of whatever it is that's going on, what we have done, what we haven't done, there is always within us divine potential. Divine potential to experience more, to be more, to comprehend more, to understand more, to love more, to reveal more. The last word is never spoken as long as there's still breath in your body. It's never too late to learn. It's never too late to grow. There is nothing constricting or restricting you from stepping into a higher frequency and a higher vibration. There's a potentiality within each and every one of us. It's so easy to become jaded. It's so easy to become disillusioned when we've been hurt or when we've been disappointed. This disillusionment can happen at an individual level about your own self or your own circumstances. We can get disillusioned with the larger spectrum. I spent hours yesterday in the most extraordinary conversation with a young guy I haven't had a chance to be around, like literally in years. He's 15. And we were just engaging so about politics and his ideas and him sharing with me what his friends are saying and his perspectives. And one of the things that I kept impressing upon him over and over and over is don't get cynical, particularly at a young age. Don't just look around at everything that has happened before and come to the conclusion that it's worthless or that it's hopeless. I'm not saying that he personally was doing it, but as he was expressing his challenge sometimes in coming up against that with other people in social media or in private conversations, just reminding him that there's always a higher potential, but you only reach it if you see it. You'll only step into higher potential if you believe that it's possible. So there's this dilemma. It's kind of a catch-22, so to speak. If you want to see proof of it before you're willing to believe that it's possible, you're going to be waiting forever. It's that proverbial, I'll believe it when I see it. It's the other way around. You'll see it when you believe it. You'll see it when you believe it. This goes contrary to a lot of the ways in which we're trained to think, as though it's not real until I see it. It's the other way around. Anybody that is working towards anything, if you're an athlete, you can't wait for the proof that you already won the championship to believe that you can win it. You've got to believe that you can win it to win the championship. You can't wait until the song is completely done and recorded before you believe that you have the possibility of creating or making music. You can't wait until you're in some happily married ever after thing before you believe it's possible to be in a relationship. We can't wait until we see the evidence of liberty and justice for all before we believe that it's possible. It will happen the more we declare that it's possible. Just let that sink in for a moment. This is true of everything. Of everything. Your capacity to imagine, your capacity to envision, to declare, to proclaim, that goes before you and makes it so for you. Listen to what I'm saying. It'll make it so for you. So if you're walking around with the story that it doesn't work, even if it is working, it's going to look like it doesn't work. If this goes on in your personal life, it goes on in the larger sphere. Whether the last U.S. election was as safe and as secure as all of the advisors, all of the people who had anything to do with cybersecurity or anything, say that it was, if you are carrying a narrative that it wasn't, then for you, it's not. For you, it's not. And that idea that it wasn't becomes what you see. In science, when you're trying to prove something, you start off with a hypothesis. And you're trying to prove whether something is the case or not. I'm not saying that you should just run around and just naively believe. But if I'm going to do an experiment, I have to have the hypothesis that whatever it is I'm testing for is at least possible. That's why I'm testing. I'm not testing to prove that it doesn't exist. I'm testing to prove that something could be. So even if you doubt it, just for a moment, suspending the doubt long enough to test it. This is how you get into higher vibrations and higher potentiality. I wasn't sure all this spiritual stuff was true. I had my doubts. I've got fewer doubts now than I used to have, but I had my doubts. This notion that love wins, this notion of divine order and right action, this notion that it's a self-corrective universe and that everything will turn around and work out. I wasn't so sure about all that. But I love the fact that I'm in a spiritual tradition that lets you test it. Even in scripture, there's so many instances that are recorded where the voice of the divine is saying to humanity, prove me. Or instances in reverse where it's saying, I'll prove you. And this proving is what I'm talking about, this unleashing of the potentiality that you didn't even know was there. But you won't know it unless you show up. You won't know it unless you try it. You won't know it unless you open up the possibilities. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe there really is a way. Maybe it can turn out. Maybe there are some possibilities. If you can even just get into maybe. In scripture, it says you just need the faith of a mustard seed. Next month, starting next week, we're going to be talking about faith. Just like an itty bitty, teeny weeny little bit. Like a mustard seed is one of the smallest seeds. But it's an interesting thing about the mustard seed that the mustard is one of the strongest weeds on the planet. And when the mustard seed starts to grow in your area and starts to grow in your garden, it just gobbles up everything. It's the bane of farmers because it's so hard to get the thing out. Even when you think you have it uprooted, it keeps coming back. So when many of us have heard that idea about the faith of a mustard seed, we're thinking that, well, you just need this little tiny thing, but that little tiny thing takes over. That little tiny thing will gobble up and hold everything. There's a higher divine potentiality, and it'll really happen when we all start to align. We just completed a historic court case this week, and I feel like I would be remiss to not even Jeanette. The trial of Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. Just this egregious act that caused an uproar literally around the world. The largest protests that we have ever seen. Just gruesome, the inhumanity that we witnessed. When the verdict came, I believe it was last Tuesday or so, could have my days off, but somewhere close around in there. It came at about 2:15, 2:12, 2:15, something like that in the afternoon, my Pacific time. And I was just starting on a Zoom call. And for whatever reason, some of the people couldn't get in. I had one earbud in listening from my phone while I'm trying to conduct this Zoom meeting. And when it became clear that we weren't going to start on time, I unplugged and let everybody on the Zoom hear the verdicts in real time with me through my phone. And when they got to the third count of guilty, I lost it. I lost it. I wailed. I cried at a level that was so deep within me, it took me by surprise. That there was that much pain and anguish that was inside. And when I could kind of start, so to speak, what I just kept saying is that this is the first time. This is the first time in U.S. where law enforcement has been convicted for killing us. It's 2021. And what makes this particular event so historic? Now, mind you, it's taken all of that. It's taken world protest. It's taken having a camera that's watching it every second. This stuff isn't new. There have been, I don't know how many of these similar kinds of things just while the trial has been going on for the past couple of weeks. It's not new, but there's this new awareness. But the thing that was new was this aligning with a higher potential on the part of the Minneapolis Police Department. That was new. What was new was not to hide behind the blue shield. What was new was to tell the truth, even if the truth made you look bad. This point, and it was such a beautiful thing to see, this coming together, and the word race wasn't even mentioned in the trial. But it was this subcontext that finally a Black life mattered. It mattered. It mattered enough not to hide behind the blue wall. It mattered enough to tell the truth. It mattered enough to come together. And you know what? And I know I'm not going to be popular for saying this. But in this alignment of transformation, I really pray for the redemption of Derek Chauvin. There are no throwaway people. When I watched that murder, I felt like I was witnessing two deaths. That I was watching George Floyd's death in real time, and I was watching the aftermath of Derek Chauvin's death, that something had died in him a long time ago. That the only way anybody could be that disassociative, to still have your neck and the person's dead, where the paramedics have to tap you on the shoulder and say, get up off of him. That amount of disconnect, I don't know what kind of abuse he suffered. I don't even know what a person has to go through to be that disconnected to their own humanity. And the kind of ice cold, emotionless thing throughout the whole trial. What I know is that everybody's redemptive. Everybody's redemptive. Everybody. And that includes him. There's no reason why there cannot be a turnaround. There's no reason why that man cannot see the light. Our most famous American hymn, Amazing Grace, speaks of this. The author, Newton, was a slave trader. A slave trader. And that tune is an African mourning song. M-O-U-R-N, mourning song. And he would hear that song, and he would hear that tune. And he had to turn around. He had to turn around. I once was lost, now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. It's possible. A lot of people talk about George Floyd being the Emmett Till of this generation. Emmett Till, the 15-year-old that was beaten brutally, thrown in the river. And his mother bravely let the photos of that out and had an open casket. And the sight of that was a turning point of the movement back in 1955. Similar kind of these horrific images. And you know what? 3 maybe years ago, the woman who was his accuser, because he was killed for so-called sassing a white woman or saying something that was taken to be quote unquote suggestive. They even knew who killed it. It was her relatives, it was her husband and her brother. They admitted it, they knew, but couldn't get a conviction. Mississippi. But you know what she did? On her deathbed, she came clean. On her deathbed, she admitted she was lying the whole time. It never even happened. She did not take that lie to her grave. And she exonerated Emmett Till. Even George Wallace from Alabama had to turn around. Anything is possible. If we're about oneness, then we got to be about oneness. And that means everybody. Martin Luther King said he was fighting for the soul of America, that there was a malady in our soul that would have us be this violent and this militaristic around the world. He said he wanted to live long. Everybody wanted to live long. But if his physical death could save his children and his white brothers from a permanent psychological death, then in terms of his physical death, he could think of no act that would be more redemptive. And I'm asking us right now, I'm asking us to stand up. I'm asking us to align with our highest potential, to dare to imagine that all of the institutions, including the police department, can do the right thing. that we can all come together in a higher form of justice if we speak truth unto power, that we can see a brighter day. But as long as there's a throwaway, it's not going to happen. And it doesn't matter whether red's throwing away the blue or the blue's throwing away the red or no. Wish the highest potential even for your so-called enemies. Jesus said, love your neighbor. He also said, love your enemy. And that's the way that we all move up as a species. That's the way that we evolve, when every life matters. All of us standing in a divinity, a love for one another. It's possible. It's possible. Just take a breath. I know I've said a lot of things, and some of you might even want to talk about it. So I want to remind you, there's a Zoom party going on right now that you can join in. And in a few minutes, they're going to be engaging each other in conversation about it. That's something that you might want to get in on. And Heather Houston, who did the opening song, is going to be the musical inspiration there. I want to invite you also to make a contribution, to donate. Inner Light Ministries has a big mission. We serve a lot of people. And this message of oneness, I don't know if it's ever been more timely. Help us multiply this consciousness. You'll see on your screen there that'll be different ways that you can do it. You can text to give. You can go to paypal.me/innerlightministries. You can use the donate buttons right where you are. You go to our website. There are many ways that you can do it, but I invite you to be a part of this fresh wind that you can feel blowing and moving us more towards the beloved community. Yes. So take a breath. It's been wonderful being with you. Join us in the Zoom party as we always take this consciousness and multiply it.